Hi guys! My next story for you is called Just Ask, and it's written by Sonia Sotomayor and it's illustrated by Rafael Lopez. And Sonia Sotomayor is a Supreme Court justice, so she's an incredibly intelligent woman and has an amazing job. And this book really stuck out to me because it really focuses on and celebrates us as individuals, as unique. And it really brings home the message that each of us has really special characteristics that make us ourselves. It makes us who we are. It separates everything about us is unique to us, separates us from everyone else. And we talk about how important it is to be unique and really embrace who you are. That you don't want to be like everybody else. If we were all the same, what a boring world that would be, right? We wouldn't have anything to learn about anyone else because we wouldn't have to ask any questions. We'd all be the same person. And to me, that sounds really, really boring. I love that each one of you is so uniquely different, that you each bring something so cool and awesome to our classroom every day, that's what made it such an amazing year. And that's what will continue to make you each amazing as you move on, because there's no one else like you. So the idea is to always embrace who you are, love who you are, because you are uniquely you. And you know that's a big thing for me. I love that you guys just want to be yourselves and really embrace and not feel embarrassed about anything that might be different about you. Because if you think about it, we're all different. Each of us has something different about us. So always, always, always embrace who you are. And this is a story about just that. And I think the other part of that message is make sure that if you're feeling and embracing yourself, that you equally embrace others and who they are. Because if you want to feel that you're special, we should also be making sure that everyone else knows they're special in their own way too, right? And just because they might be different doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, because we're basically saying we love being different. So we should love other people for being different too. It's my opinion, okay? So this is an awesome story. Really excited about this. It's a little long. I'm not gonna read the prelude, this is a letter Sonia Sotomayor wrote, but I am gonna read you the first paragraph, okay? And it says, "A letter to my readers. I was born on June 25th, 1954, and in 1961, when she was 7 years old, she was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. To take care of myself," she says, "I had to do things other kids did not. Sometimes I felt different. When kids saw me giving myself a needle shot of insulin, my medicine, I knew they were curious about what I was doing. But they never asked me. They never asked my parents or my teachers about it. I also often felt that they thought I was doing something wrong." I guess I am going to read just a little bit more. "As I grew older, I realized that there are many ways to be, that I was not alone in feeling different. I wanted to write this book to explain how differences make us stronger in a good way." And that's exactly the message that I believe too. So let's read on and see how she's done that in this book. "Hi, I'm Sonia. My friends and I are planting a garden. Gardens are magical places." Now this is interesting right off the bat. We know a Sonia, a Mrs. Ferreira, Sonia Ferreira, who also loves gardens. "So gardens are magical places. Thousands of plants bloom together, but every flower, every berry, and every leaf is different. Each has a different smell, different color, different shape, and different purpose. Some flowers need lots of sunlight. Others thrive in the shade. Some have to be trimmed regularly, while others are better off just left alone. Some trees and flowers are more fragile, and others are more hardy. Kids are all different too. Some of us are in a hurry, and others take more time. Some of us seem shy and quiet. while others are chatty and loud. Some of our differences are easy to spot. Others take longer to notice. Each of us grows in our own way. So if you are curious about other kids, be respectful, be polite, but just ask. Now this might shock you guys, but when I was young, when I was your age, I was so quiet and shy. I barely spoke to anyone. And now, obviously, that's not the case. Not everyone is comfortable answering questions about themselves, but I don't mind. What am I doing? Several times a day, I prick my finger to measure the sugar in my blood, and I give myself shots of medicine called insulin. I do this because I have diabetes, and my body doesn't make insulin naturally like other people's bodies do. Even though this can sometimes hurt, I gather all of my courage and I do it to be healthy. Do you ever need to take medicine to be healthy? I know I've had to do that before. I do. My name is Raphael and I have asthma, which means I sometimes have trouble breathing. When that happens, I take a break and I use an inhaler with medicine to make breathing easier. Quiet time helps me slow down and catch my breath. Now in our class we have a few friends that have asthma and they're so brave and they chat about it, and then we all learned something new and it helped us to understand, which is awesome. My inhaler is like a tool to help my body. Do you use a tool to help your body? I'm Anthony, and I use a wheelchair to get around. Even though I can't run with my legs, I can go super fast in my chair. How do you get from place to place? Look at how souped up that wheelchair is. Super cool. My name is Madison, and my guide dog, Lucky, helps me get places safely because I'm blind, which means I can't see. My friend Arturo is blind too. He uses a cane to get around. And even though we can't see, we strengthen our other senses and notice lots of details others might miss. We can hear with our ears, smell with our noses, and feel with our hands, sometimes a little bit more than maybe people that can see. How do you use your senses? And we talked about that previously, guys, when we talked about actually someone that was blind before, is that their other senses seem to be heightened, where they might notice things because they're not focused. Like if you just close your eyes and you're quiet for a minute and you're not bombarded with all the visual information coming in around you, you might hear or smell or taste things differently because all of your focus is on those senses instead. It's actually really fascinating. I'm VJ. I learn about the world differently because I can see, but I can't hear. I'm deaf. Most of the time I communicate with people using my face and hands through sign language. It's cool to know another language. We talk about that all the time too, how we were learning Spanish words, definitely learning sign language. That's an incredible way to communicate with others. And in the city that we live in, Rochester, there's a very large deaf population in our community, and we have a college here, NTID, which is the National Technological Institute for the Deaf. So people from all around the country come to this great city to go to this amazing college because they are deaf. It's really awesome. I also love reading and writing. What about you? I'm Bianca, and I have dyslexia. So I have to work really hard to take my time when I am reading and writing words. Sometimes I use a computer program to help me. I love learning by doing things. My imagination is full of ideas, and I'm very good at making art from the pictures I see in my mind. Are you really good at something? You guys are all really amazing at a lot of things, so I hope right now you're thinking, yeah, I'm really good at Fill in the blank. What are you really awesome at? I'm great at dinosaurs. I know all about them. I'm Jordan, and I have autism. Organizing and counting all of my toy dinosaurs again and again makes me feel calm. My classmate Tiana also has autism, but it's different for her. She doesn't talk, but I like to talk. I especially like to talk about dinosaurs. What do you like to talk about with others? So even someone, they both have autism, but they're still unique and special in their own ways. They're still very different. Just because you have a label or someone has told you you have a certain, maybe a challenge sometimes, guess what? It doesn't make you any less. It just makes you more unique and special. But within that category or in that group, you can still be very, very unique and different. Okay? Not everyone that has autism is even remotely the same, right? Just like everyone that loves music doesn't love the same kind of music. It's not a great example, but it's an example. For me, listening comes more easily than talking, and I'm a really good listener. My name is An, and I speak with a stutter, so I sometimes repeat a word or get stuck when I try to say it. It may take me a little longer to express myself, and sometimes I'm too shy to talk, but I understand everything that's going on. Another name for stutter, another word for stutter is disfluency. So you guys might have some friends who have a disfluency, and that means their speech isn't smooth when they're trying to express themselves. And you just be patient and you wait. Do you ever wonder if people understand you? Do you ever wonder that? If people have a hard time understanding what you're trying to say? Maybe, maybe not. I do. My name is Julia. Sometimes I wiggle or make sounds that I can't control because I have something called Tourette's syndrome. People may look at me funny because they think I'm not paying attention or I'm just acting out and misbehaving. But that's not true. I am listening. I don't always like having to explain. It frustrates me. But it does help people when I tell them it's just what my body does. I can't control it. Do you ever feel frustrated? I know I do. Isn't it amazing how all these kids are sharing some things that might be challenging for them, but they also see how special they are? That's why I love this book. And it also makes us realize that a lot of us have struggles. So we're not that different after all. My name is Manuel, and I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You might hear someone say it's called ADHD, ADD, or ADHD. I can get frustrated when I really feel the need to move around even though I'm supposed to sit still. When my teachers and friends are patient with me, if I forget something or get distracted, I can get myself back on track. But my body really just needs to move more than most people. What's helpful to you? Now in our class, we know this all the time. I'm not great at sitting still. I always shared with you that Danny isn't really great at sitting still either. He'll do his homework on the floor. He'll even walk around and read. He needs to be moving. His body seems to do better when he's moving, when he's trying to learn. So in our classroom, we had the wiggle chairs, the wobble chairs, things like that. Sometimes kids love to sit in the rocking chair and read. And just that movement helps your body feel calm and kind of get you more centered. So we all have things our bodies need, even if we don't realize it. If you think about how we go through our day, sometimes people can work when it's noisy. Other people need it to be really, really quiet when they're doing their homework. So that's just a simple example of how we're different in those ways. I'm Nolan. It's helpful to me when the food I eat has a clear label that says it is nut-free because I am allergic to nuts. They can make me so sick that I would have to go to the hospital if I ate any, even by accident. So I always tell people about my allergy and ask if any food has nut ingredients. Speaking up keeps me healthy. right? He needs to be proactive. He needs to take responsibility, Nolan does. Because if he was ever to eat something that had nuts in it, it could be really disastrous for him. He could get really, really sick. Potentially, some friends have allergies so significant that if they ate that specific food, they could actually die from that. So it's really, really important for kids who have allergies also to speak up and ask a lot of questions to make sure they keep themselves safe. And they shouldn't feel strange about it because it's what they need. How do you use your voice? Nolan wants to know. I love to sing and I love to talk. I love to make new friends and be included. I am Grace. I was born with Down syndrome. Kids like me with Down syndrome have an extra building block called a chromosome in our bodies. But we are all different from each other too. I can do almost anything any other kid can do, though learning new things can take more time for me. One way I learn is to ask questions. So we talked about this all the time too. I think in our class we're all very loving and kind and accepting of each other, and I think we talked pretty openly about what each of us needs. Sometimes even during our goal sharing sessions, right? Sometimes somebody just takes a little bit longer to learn the information. They'll get it, but they might need it to be repeated more times. They might need to have a picture of what needs to be done, and that's okay because that's just what they need to learn. What helps you learn? I know what helps me learn. It's difficult for me just to hear directions being given. Like when Mrs. Ferreira sometimes would give directions out loud, you would sometimes hear me say, Mrs. Ferreira, could you repeat that for me? Or can you put up a picture, maybe draw something on the board, the smart board, to help me remember what I need to do next? And of course she always did that because she knew that helped me, right? So it's me, Sonia again. I ask questions too. When something seems different or new, I just ask my parents or my teachers, and they help me to understand, especially if my friends don't really feel ready to explain. This is what I've learned. Imagine if all of the plants in this garden were exactly the same. Like, what if we only could grow peas? That would mean no strawberries or cucumbers or carrots. No strawberries? What? They're my favorite. It might also mean no trees or roses or sunflowers. Also my favorite. Just like in our garden, all the ways we are different make our neighborhood, our whole world really, more interesting and more fun. For sure. And just like all of these plants, each of us has unique powers to share with the world and make it more interesting and richer. What will you do with your powers? Now, Mrs. Ferrer and I know that each of you is so incredibly unique and special, and you all have such amazing talents. Some of you already know what those talents are. Some of you haven't discovered them yet, but I think we know what they are. But you will in time, and we hope that you go out and do amazing things. And always realize that being unique, being special, being different means all of those things, that you are amazing because you are unique and different, because there's only one you, and what could be cooler than that? So I hope you loved this story, Just Ask. For me, this is a keeper. It's going on my favorite books bookshelf, and I have a bookshelf that's just for my very, very favorite books, and this has definitely made its way to that shelf. So I hope you loved it as much as me, and I also hope that you always remember this, that just because someone is different from you doesn't mean that's a problem. And if you're curious and you can be respectful and polite, that you can just ask them. You don't have to whisper behind their backs, or you don't have to make fun or laugh just because you feel uncomfortable or you're not sure what's going on. Talk to them. Maybe they want you to know. Maybe they're hoping someone will ask because maybe they're nervous about how they're different. But once they realize that you're so kind and loving, that they're going to realize, oh wow, This is somebody that's going to be my friend and who can respect me and just have fun with me, just like everybody else. So that is my message for today, my friends. Always be kind and loving and accepting of others, because it's the differences that make us so amazing. Mwah.